No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, reduce inequality, industry, innovation and infrastructure. These are 7 out of the 17 global goals for sustainable development, and they all have one thing in common. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, improved financial inclusion is strategic to achieving these goals. At the recent International Financial Inclusion Conference in Abuja, CBN Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability and Chair, Financial Inclusion Technical Committee, Mrs. Aisha Hamad said, when citizens have access to financial services, they are able to live a more productive life. Mrs. Hamad went further to say that financial inclusion is beyond just having a bank account, but also having access to credit, payment, capital market, insurance, pension, and investment. In today's package, we bring you more from that conference. But that's after this message and the top story from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Stay tuned.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the introduction of a new series of 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes to be launched on December 15, 2022. These new banknotes will circulate side by side with the current 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes, which will cease to be legal tender on January 31, 2023. Banks are now open from Monday to Saturday to accept customers' deposits. So, hurry to your banks to deposit only 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes in your possession. To make it seamless, the CBN has suspended bank charges on all deposits made during this period, and there is no limit on how much an individual can deposit. Remember, the current 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknotes remain legal tender until January 31, 2023. Do not reject it, but ensure the banknotes get to your bank before the deadline of January 31, 2023. The Naira is our national pride. Let's embrace the new currency. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Welcome back. Here's the top story from the CBN. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has disclosed that the 3 redesigned 200, 500 and 1000 Naira banknotes have now reached commercial banks in the country in readiness for the 15th December set date, when it will be made available to the general public. Mr. Emefiele made this disclosure when speaking to journalists during his visit to President Muhammadu Buhari in his hometown in Dara, Katsina State, for an obligatory briefing on recent development in the financial system and the economy in general, which he said was long overdue. He said the president was pleased with the bank's cashless policy, which informed the recent cash withdrawal limit, and has given his nod for the bank to carry on. The CBN governor, however, added that the concerns of Nigerians regarding the cash withdrawal limit will be given due consideration.
It's important for me to say that the cashless policy started in 2012, okay? But at almost 3 to 4 occasions, we've had to step down the policy because we felt that there is a need for us to prepare ourselves and deepen our payment system infrastructure in Nigeria. Between 2012 and now 2022, almost or about 10 years, we believe that a lot of electronic channels have been put in place that would aid people in making banking, conducting banking and financial services transactions in Nigeria. We've heard about people talking about some of the people in the rural areas. And the truth is that even online banking, as I was coming out to Dara, I saw a kiosk that has super agents today. Because of the way we felt that there is a need for us to deepen payment system infrastructure, we have 1.4 million super agents that are in all over the country, different parts of the country, all local governments, all villages in this country. And I have told my colleagues, I'm sure some of their names are already on the CBN website, and we will publish all the names of all the super agents. And having super agents, which is different from the banks, which is different from microfinance bank, which is different from other what we can call financial institutions, having 1.4 million of them is as good as saying that you have about 1.4 million banking points where people can conduct services. And we think that Nigeria, as a big country, the biggest economy in Africa, that we need to leapfrog into the cashless economy. We cannot continue to allow a situation where over 85% of the cash that is in circulation is outside the banks. More and more countries that are embracing digitization have gone into cashless. And I've said it at different fora that this is not targeted at anybody. It is just meant for the good and the development of the Nigerian economy. And we can only just continue to appeal to Nigerians to please see this policy the way we have presented it. We will be reviewing from time to time how this is working, because I cannot say that we are going to be rigid, but it is not to say that we will reverse. It is not to say that we will change timing, but whether it is about tweaking some amount to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower and all the rest of them, we will do so because we are humans. We want to make sure that we make life good for our people. We do not want to make life difficult for them. So there's no need for anybody to worry. The central bank is monitoring what is happening, and I can assure everyone that we are we are alive to our responsibilities, and will do what is right for Nigeria and Nigerians.
Digital startups are beginning to change the dynamics of how financial inclusion is impacting in the lives of our people. Looking at the demographics, how much have these startups, created a buzz in terms of innovation, in terms of recognition, in terms of the usability, and how do you think that is going to drive or power on the train of financial inclusion, touching the lives of the everyday Nigerian?
See, the startups are aware of the nuances of the country. They're aware that, we don't have electricity everywhere, we don't have connectivity everywhere. So what they're doing is really thinking around offline solutions as well. Right. Thinking around how do we build solutions that, people can use in the village, people can use on a feature phone, and people can use without even owning an account. So there's one that we just saw. It's one of those that, they basically they transfer money to you and automatically create an e-Naira account for you. So that whole onboarding process. Awesome. So when you think about social investment programs and when we're trying to give money to the poor, and we can just do this by just having their phone number, and automatically they get an e-Naira wallet, they're onboarded, they're connected in general. So I'm just super excited that if we continue with this way, there's no doubt that we will hit our 95% by 2024.
Nigeria's 95% financial inclusion target by the year 2024 is achievable with all hands on deck. Let's now listen to the financial inclusion narratives from other countries represented at the CBN 2022 Financial Inclusion Conference, Abuja. Here is excerpt from the third panel discussion session with the topic Financial Inclusion for All, Country Experiences.
This afternoon, we heard about some of the challenges, and the DG gave her opening remarks around our financial inclusion journey and the story of where we're coming from. And it's been a long journey. It's been a nice journey. It's been a painful journey, but we're still in it. And I don't think anyone is here to give up. So what we want to do today is learn from our siblings around Africa and also India. And our siblings are going to tell us what has worked, what hasn't worked, and where would you see we should be going to? Because we've heard about, inclusion means different things to different people. Inclusion is not just about an account, but it's also about access and use of different financial service products. So when we talk about financial service products, the central bank is leading, but we also need insurance, we need pensions, we need insurance, pensions, and which other one is there? Investments, yes, exactly, wealth and investments. So ladies and gentlemen, one thing we also need to tell ourselves is that we're not doing badly. Because sometimes we come to fora like this and we look at it and think, oh no, we're doing badly. Globally, according to the World Bank Findex, there's still 1.4 billion adults without access to financial services. So if you think about our global population just surpassed 8 billion the other day, right? And let's say half are adults. So there's still a number of people globally that don't have access to financial services. Let me start with you, Russia. Egypt is north of Africa, right? And sometimes it's in a region which we call the Middle East, Northern Africa. But tell us, how is financial inclusion faring? Because Egypt has similarities to Nigeria, right? We're almost the same size. We're half of our population, but then similarities. So tell us, what are the highlights of financial inclusion in Egypt? What has worked, what hasn't worked, and what have been your pain points?
Yes, financial inclusion, it's a priority and a core focus area at the Central Bank of Egypt. And basically due to its tremendous impact of improving the inclusive growth and maintaining the financial and the social stability and gender equality and women economic empowerment is as of equal a high priority that we put a lot of emphasis. So a few years back we have, as a central bank, have acted proactively to include more financial services and banking services for all segments, including women, youth, people with determination, and with the focus of very wide geographical distribution across all governorates of the Republic. So I think we've done a lot of initiatives, and I think it's with impact. Like we've increased the financial inclusion rate with this adult having any financial transaction account. From 17.1 in 2016 to 36.8 million adults having at least one financial transaction. This is like 115% growth rate just in 5 years. So yeah, we're still way long to go.
So Dr. Gaj, tell us, India is one of our largest countries and populations that also has very high levels of poverty. What have been the highlights of financial inclusion in India, the successes as well as the pain points that you want to sort of throw at the Nigerian audience? You're welcome, Dr. Gaj.
Thank you. So I would say that one of the biggest issues has been how to reach the 1.3 billion people, and to ensure that the banking sector has a kind of a know your customer identity which can be used to onboard the people. And for that, I think technology has really been a driver, because a few years back, in fact about 5 to 7 years back, a major drive was made to bank the unbanked, and nearly more than 400 million bank accounts were opened. And the fact that they could be opened was because we had a digital identity in place, which helped in onboarding them. So onboarding customers, onboarding the people who are unbanked, that has been a major drive, and that's the first point. Once they are onboarded, the second major challenge obviously is to ensure access for them for the different services that the banking system has to offer. We have over 600,000 villages, so obviously it's not possible to provide brick and mortar branches at every village. And that's where again technology has been a major driver, that we have what we call the Aadhaar enabled payment systems, by which people can transact in their bank accounts, they can deposit and withdraw funds by the use of banking correspondents who use technology to get linked to the bank accounts. So I think technology has been a big enabler for us, and going forward we hope to continue to harness technology to be able to ensure that people who live at the edges, who live in remote areas and who are not so literate yet, that they can use technology to ensure that the basic financial needs are met.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Gaj. And I think what you've just thrown at us is a really big challenge. Okay, so let's hear from also Kenya. Kenya is one of these countries that, you know, when we're talking about successes in financial inclusion, we always look at our East African brothers, right? So, Evelyn, why don't you tell us what has happened in Kenya? How did Kenya become the narrative piece for Africa?
So to give you context, Kenya has a population of about 50 million, and currently we have an inclusion rate of 83.7, and really this is thanks to the mobile phone. And the reason why this has actually been a success is because the mobile phone came to serve a need. Our population, pretty much like Nigeria and other African countries, had a lot of people who live in the rural areas and coming to work in the city. So the principle of sending money home is really what drove mobile financial services in 2007 with the advent of the licensing, of the introduction of M-Pesa. And really this was a time when workers would send money home to their wives and children in the rural areas. And this was the need that it came to serve. And a lot of people embraced it over time. And this really has been successful, the need. Secondly, we do have a very high mobile penetration rate in Kenya. Actually, currently, we 132% of penetration of mobile phones, meaning that within the adult population, people have more than one phone. So that infrastructure has actually helped the penetration of mobile financial services, which just use basic feature phones using the USSD technology. Secondly, we do have regulatory framework that actually had provided the success to mobile financial services. Obviously, when we began rolling out mobile financial services, there was no regulatory environment suitable for the financial service that is money transfer. But we were able to see some spaces within the law that could actually allow for a test and learn approach where we were learning how to roll out this kind of service and then generate regulations as we go along. This is what we see nowadays as the regulatory sandbox. And I think our success really has been with a regulator that allows for an enabling environment for these services to be rolled out, for innovation to be propagated. Now, in terms of challenges, obviously with an 83.7 access rate, there are other things that we keep seeing, things that keep us awake as regulators. First of all, one of the things that we see is, yes, there is access. We have 400,000 agents which are within 1 kilometer, less than 3 kilometers of the population. But we want to now begin to push usage, issues around consumer protection, issues around data privacy. Secondly, is really the issues around how do we manage the risks of technology with relation to the innovations that are coming in place. Mm-hmm. And this is really our challenging part.
Okay, great. So even though you've advanced in Kenya, there's still more work to be done around ensuring that there is effective use and continued utility in general. So Tolu, you represent FSD African. You're going to give us the perspective of what are the key highlights we've seen across the continent in terms of what has worked in other countries other than Kenya and Egypt, for example.
What I've seen in Rwanda is slightly above, Nigeria and Uganda, because presently we have 93% number of people, or 93% of people that are financially included, and that is a very good number. But when it comes to Nigeria, we have 64, and we have Uganda 53. But then what has worked in Rwanda is that they've been able to institutionalize the credit savings and cooperatives in rural areas. When we look at the people that are excluded in Nigeria, where are they situated? Because when for Uganda and Nigeria, are we really focusing at the financial service providers? Are they really focusing on knowing, critically dissecting the people that are excluded? Who are they? Beyond the numbers that we tout every year, who are these people? What are their livelihoods? What are their motivations for using financial services? What will change in their lives when they use financial services? Because apart from a typical rural woman, the reason why she will take on a financial service is because she knows that she's able to save. She knows that when it is during planting season, she can get 300,000 naira from a microfinance bank. That is the only reason why she would take up a financial service or product. So it's important that we invest, and I've seen a lot of investment from the Rwanda government that has gone into understanding the different segments of the population. And also beyond that, I've seen in Uganda and Nigeria the dominance of limiting social norms. We can't run away from these social norms, and for a moment I want us to look away from access to accounts beyond the woman beyond people just having access to account. It's how do people use these accounts? And when we look at, let's go to rural areas when it is plant season, and people want an access to a 2 million naira. Considering that these people do not have the necessary collaterals, particularly for women, how are they, because they don't have access to lands? So it's financial inclusion itself is not in a vacuum. It's attached to a whole lot of things. So for us to even fix the, women's access to loans, we have to look at land reforms. So these are the insights that I can draw from the 3 countries.
Okay, thank you all very much. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the nuances and the strategies are different from each country. In Egypt, they had supply side. In India, they had the identity, they had technology. In Kenya, it was this issue of urbanization and families in rural areas. And in Rwanda, it's the implementation and the actioning of the government strategies and the enabling environment and the supporting policies. Evelyn, I'm going to come back to you. One of the challenges we've had in Nigeria is that mobile money hasn't really given us the leverage that we expected it to give us in Kenya, in Nigeria, as it did in Kenya. So can you tell us, what were the nuances that made mobile money really sticky in your own market?
So one of the things that really helped was really the geographical situation, like I did mention. We had people working in different places, and therefore the need was real. I believe that when you do have an innovation that's serving a need, the uptake is going to resonate with that need. And so because there were a lot of people that were sending money, not just the workers, but generally a lot of people sending money to rural areas using the bus, using their friends, using the post offices. These were very slow, very unsafe, and quite long in terms of the turnaround time. And these are some of the things that help people realize that that need can be met with a solution that's safe, that's accessible and efficient. And so that was one of the things, the geographical nuances within the country. Secondly, I think Kenyans are very innovative. They are very adventurous, I must say, in trying out a lot of new things. And I know for a lot of countries, when innovations come, and even, it's difficult to take up. But really, when this innovation came and different other innovations, Kenyans are willing to try these new things. And these are some of the things that have really helped us. Also, there was the issue of access to financial services for women. And there was a lot of challenges with women accessing financial services because of the bottlenecks that they experience socially, economically. And financial services through the digital technology had allowed them to access services in ways they couldn't before. And actually, if you look at the Kenyan trajectory, you notice that our gender gap is quite small at 4.2. And this is because as women are conducting their normal everyday duties, they're able to access services and make use of them in the economic space. And so these are some of the things that we've been able to see over time.
Thank you. So that's the social norms and the sense of adventure and inquisitiveness to try something new in general.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the introduction of a new series of 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes to be launched on December 15, 2022. These new banknotes will circulate side by side with the current 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes, which will cease to be legal tender on January 31, 2023. Banks are now open from Monday to Saturday to accept customers' deposits. So, hurry to your banks to deposit only 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes in your possession. To make it seamless, the CBN has suspended bank charges on all deposits made during this period, and there is no limit on how much an individual can deposit. Remember, the current 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes remain legal tender until January 31, 2023. Do not reject it, but ensure the banknotes get to your bank before the deadline of January 31, 2023. The Naira is our national pride. Let's embrace the new currency. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
That's the package from the CBN this week. Thank you for watching. Report unresolved banking issues to the CBN Consumer Protection Department using the email cpd@cbn.gov.ng. Attach relevant documents. Call the CBN contact center on the phone line +234 700 2255 226. Local call rates may apply. Write to us through the email address from the cbn@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter for updates and to watch uploaded episodes of the program. We invite you to join us again next time. I'm William Misidada. Stay safe. Bye for now.